When was the last time you sent something by letter mail? It doesn't happen often, does it? But when you receive a personalized letter in the mail, ooh, it feels so good. You feel special. So why aren't you sending more letter mail? More importantly, why aren't you using this amazing tactic for your business? Well, I have Wilson here today, and he's going to tell us a little bit about himself, why this topic matters to him, and why it should matter to you. Wilson, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me. Appreciate the opportunity.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I started out with a degree in finance and a minor in computer science. Spent 5 or 6 years writing software, mostly for military aerospace applications, and then went into marketing. And mostly spent most of my career in the technology industry. But I do teach as well. I teach at the university level. I teach marketing, entrepreneurship, finance, and business strategy. So typically, the way it works is I'll spend some time working on a startup and, get to a good point with that. And then I'll teach for a few years and try to, share those lessons with the students. And then I'll take on another venture, either mine or someone else's. So I've done a lot of ventures over the years, and I've spent a lot of time teaching as well.
That is a broad range of experiences, I feel like, from that immense technological background straight into this world of business, marketing, and entrepreneurship. Never mind teaching. Goodness gracious. So what does all of that have to do with your business in Zermil?
Oh, Zermil is, it's kind of an evolution, if you will. I mean, when we started out, and Zermil's been around in different incarnations for a long period of time. The first version was funded by Hewlett Packard and Draper Fisher Jurvetson. DFJ is like a tier one California VC, and they funded Hotmail and Skype and a bunch of stuff like that. But basically what we've looked at, and I've looked at in a number of startups, is this idea of convergence. So the internet, really started to take off. We had the dot-com bubble in 2000, 2001. So the internet's really started to take off, and we were looking at communication applications, but there was all of this legacy out there that people have been using forever, and it didn't really work together. So we spent a lot of time. Skype is a perfect example. You've got the public telephone network, and you've got the internet, and how do you make it work together so that people can communicate? So we worked on a company called eFusion that did internet telephony, so we integrated with the public telephone network. And the Zermil really works with the, integrates with the U.S. Postal Service. So and our goal originally when we started out, to repeat myself, but the goal was to make sending a letter as fast and easy as sending an email. And I think we've been very successful at doing that over a lot of years.
I find this so interesting because what I'm hearing is like this amazing integration between and within the innovative digital world of technology and the traditional high-touch, personal communication methods of the phone call or the letter mail. I find that so beautiful, just this dichotomy of experiences, kind of a meeting of worlds, so to speak.
Well, when we're looking at, the question comes up oftentimes, why mail, and why not just AdWords, or why not email, or why not something else, something digital? And I always say, why not both? I mean, they don't have to be mutually exclusive, and they're all tools that serve a different purpose, right? So if I years ago, before I got into technology, I started my career as a mechanic. I was an auto mechanic, and I can tell you that when you have the more tools you have in your toolbox, the faster you can get things fixed, and the faster you can get things fixed, the more successful you can be as a mechanic. So it works the same way in marketing. We're trying to figure out, who our audience is, what kind of channel we're using, and then we're going to use different tools to increase awareness and drive demand in the channel. And so depending on where the person is or what the product is or price point, we might choose different tools. But they don't have to be mutually exclusive. I mean, for example, we worked on a recent bond measure in a small community in Eastern Oregon, and those guys really over the course of that campaign, and I could explain why, but over the course of that campaign, we used direct mail, we used yard signs, we used door hangers, we went to public meetings, meet and greet, we talked to people, we used social media through the PTA or other groups that supported the school. So we used a whole bunch of tools to do different things within that marketing process, and really address the voter's journey, if you will.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's smart to do that even today. People see that diverse way of speaking to people in the digital sense, right? We've got a lot of people who are going, oh, we do social media, we do email marketing, we do ads, we do this, and they think of that as the way to diversify without really even remembering or batting an eye at the idea of receiving something in your mailbox. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think the one of the primary drivers of some of the digital channels like email is it seems like free or almost free. But when we're marketing to people, especially if we're doing direct response kinds of marketing programs, we're really more concerned about the ROI rather than the cost, right? It's fine to pay more, but if I pay more, then I'm going to have greater levels of return. And it just turns out that direct mail can do that in a lot of cases. There are some things direct mail does that other mediums do not do or are not good at. For example, with direct mail, it's proactive communication. So I can reach out and touch people. I don't have to wait for them to touch me. They don't have to be online. They don't have to find a computer. They don't have to, pick up their smartphone, but I can reach out and touch them. And I can also reach every household and business in America. I can't do that usually using a digital tool, certainly not on my schedule. There's this idea of precise argument audience targeting. So if you go back and think about that school bond measure, the way that it works in Union County where they did that is that the bond measure is going to be paid for by property owners. So we were able to go to the county elections office. We were able to buy a voter file of registered voters. And all we had to do was pay for the media. The data was free. It's public information. Mm-hmm. Then we took that data and we divided it between homeowners and renters, because renters, they're not going to pay at all. And then we took those two lists and we divided them between people who have kids in school and people who don't. Mm-hmm. So those folks that are homeowners and they have kids in school, it's an easier sell because we just have to explain to them the benefits their kids will receive from this bond measure. The folks that don't have kids in school but have property, we're going to talk to them about community values and reinvesting in the community, doing the right thing for your neighbor, patriotism, things like that. On the left-hand side, people who are renters, they're just going to get good stuff and they're not going to pay for it. So they get a little different kind of message. But because that data is available, I can slice and dice and get the right message to the right person at the right time. For example, we did a couple of initial mail pieces to build awareness, but in Oregon, everything's vote by mail. And it has been for 25 years because the cost savings involved. But I also know from the Secretary of State, I know when those ballots are going to mail. So I know, approximately the in-home date. Some people, when they receive a ballot, they're going to vote right away, just to get rid of it or just to make sure it gets taken care of. On the other hand, some people will wait and they'll read more and do some research and they may not vote until the election date. So we're going to time it so we hit them right away with some information when they get the ballot or the day before they get the ballot, and we'll touch them again before it's time to vote, for the deadline. It's really straightforward to do that with direct mail. It's very difficult to do that with digital.
Yeah. I can see that. It sounds like it's extremely targeted. Like one of the pros is that you do have this demographic information at your fingertips, and you can target your messaging very specifically. I'm curious though about the thing that comes into my mind, because you mentioned about cost, and the ROI can be a lot higher for specific I want to say specific services or businesses or something to that degree. So I'm curious about the cost pertaining to who is this best suited for? Is it for small businesses, or are we looking at more of the medium to large size businesses who may have a little bit more to play with in that space? Or maybe am I
Well, if you have
off the wall?
yeah, in theory, speaking, speaking as a finance professor, as long as I'm producing returns that are greater than what I'm spending, then it fits any business, right? Any business who produces returns greater than their spend has a positive ROI, and that would be a program they should try and repeat as often as they can, most likely. And we also have to talk about, lifetime customer value too. So, for example, when somebody buys the first time, that may not be the only time they buy. They might buy, once a year for the next 12 years. And so that becomes part of our ROI as well.
I love that you just said that, because one of the notes that I had created was the client journey. What about, like, at what phase are we looking at? Are we looking at generating leads? Are we looking at conversion? Are we looking at nurturing clients who have already been onboarded? Are we looking at retention? Are we looking at getting them to buy again or refer? And I was curious about that. It's just like, at what stage is this most optimal?
Yeah, we can do all of those things in some form, but I mean, when we talk about direct mail, a lot of times we're talking about direct response. So I'm really trying to get people to buy. I mean, if we're thinking about advertising in a bigger picture, and by the way, when we talk about marketing, we talk about marketing with the big M, which is where we're thinking about product and people and channels, or we're talking about promotion, which is what direct mail is. And direct mail is odd because in some cases it's also a channel, right? It's a way to sell stuff as well. But when I think about advertising or promotion, there's a continuum. At one end, there's brand advertising. So think about Nike when they say, just do it. And there's a guy with a soccer ball, and then there's a person with a soccer ball, but there's a logo, but there's no 800 number, there's no URL, there's nothing, right? They're just trying to build the brand in your mind because you're going to buy later at retail. So they want to create this brand preference. On the other hand, at the other end of the spectrum is direct response, where I'm going to give somebody, I'm going to hit them with an ad, I'm going to give them an 800 number, an URL. I want them to push the button or pick up the phone and call and buy something right now. And there's all different flavors in between. So what are we trying to accomplish? And when we understand what we're trying to accomplish and what our sales cycle, what they'd call the buyer's journey, looks like today, then we can look at the nuances in that process to see how we're going to use Zermil to help the customer along. So you could use it for lead generation. You can use it for direct response. You can use it for follow-up. You can use it for, reminders. I would say though, the one thing I would throw out, and we look at this in our business too, if I'm looking for new customers, especially if I want to reach out and grab somebody, give them new information, direct mail is a really powerful tool for that. And for the reasons I listed, it's one of the few tools that can really do that. But once I have a rapport, once I have a relationship with that person, and I have an email address, or I have some easy way to contact them, I may have a newsletter, monthly newsletter. I may send them some digital content that they're going to be happy to receive. So once again, get the two working together, and create better results.
Which I guess is what you're doing with this other adorable service that we were just talking about before we started recording here, is your little buddy, your little friend. Have you named him? I need to ask because he's adorable.
Speedy. His name's Speedy.
He's too cute. And he merges those two worlds. He really takes the physical letter mail that we love opening, that we hope will contain money and not bills, and and he merges it with that whole idea of a digital email or a file sent.
Yeah, Speedy is an interesting is kind of an interesting application that we've created. So in using the Zermil tool, if you're going to do direct mail advertising, you would upload a list, upload a document, see a proof in real time, push the button, you're in the mail tomorrow, the next day at about half the cost. So it's just faster, easier. It's not your father's direct mail.
Fair enough.
Okay, but Speedy and most direct mail is one to many. So we're talking B2B. Well, it can be direct mail, can be consumer oriented too, of course, but it's usually one sender trying to reach many people.
Right.
With Speedy, really what we're looking at is either people sending letters or people who are using maybe a postal meter, Pitney Bowes meter or stamps.com or something. So you've got a letter to send, you sit down, you write it in Microsoft Word or whatever application you're using. You save it, and then you've got this document. And then normally you would have to print it, fold it, insert it, find an envelope, address it, put a stamp on it, put it in a mailbox. I mean, it's a big hassle just to send a letter. In this case, you just drop it right on Speedy, the desktop application. It says, do you want to upload it or send it? You say, send it. It turns into mail.
Which is super handy. I mean, I personally love sending little, and this is my next question that's going to come up, but I personally love sending little welcomes to my clients. When they come in, I will manually put together this little package, and I inevitably wind up taking at least a week, if not 2 weeks, to actually get it out the door because there are so many dang steps involved. If I could just upload something and let it go into the mailbox, done. However, I have to ask, this type of service is just for the written word? What I mean is there a way to, and I don't know if this is just in my mind. Okay. This is me coming, I'm coming at you from a different angle here. But what if there was something like you could actually purchase items to add into the package to send to the person as well as the letter?
Oh yeah, no, it's completely doable. I mean, there's something called dimensional mailing we use where, you're not just sending a letter, you're sending an item, whether it's a gift card or, a brownies, but I used to, when I worked at Sequent Computer, we had a program where rather than have everybody come in for a demo, you'd request a demo and we'd send you a box with a video, with microwave popcorn and all the stuff you need to watch it.
That's perfect.
But certainly there's no reason why you couldn't do that. But the Speedy today is really just to get it live. We've kind of simplified it. Usually it's a letter format, but it's very easy to think about, the next version of Speedy, maybe including a Starbucks card, or a gift card of some kind. That would be fairly.
Yeah. Or like a little pen or chocolate.
Right, and
chocolate, yeah.
And we talked about brownies, but it may not, people do that, but maybe it's a gift card for brownies at some local brownie store or something.
Yes. Oh, and that would be so cool. So here we are inventing different additions to your business.
Right.
And that's it. That's what it's about, right? Like really having that high touch feeling of, oh, you know what? I'm actually going to integrate a number of businesses within this service and then take a little bit of time to research, where does my person live? Because for example, I'm not going to buy you, I don't, correct me if I'm wrong, but from Oregon, I'm not going to buy you a Tim Hortons gift card.
Yeah.
Right? It's not going to work.
Could, but it'll never get used.
More than happy to have a Timmy's gift card. So then you can add a little personalization in there, which is really fun with your little letter. And I love this. This is so much fun.
Right. We could do something like that pretty easily. We do it on a larger scale now. People have a direct mail program where they want to include an enclosure like that. But one of the applications a friend was talking to me about the other day is he said, he's an enterprise salesperson. And he said, I've always had a great luck over the years when I go in and I meet somebody. And then as soon as I get back to the office, I take out a note card and I do a handwritten note. Hey, thank you for making time. Really enjoyed talking to you. Learned this and learned that, but he said it's pretty low effort because the card's small, but anyway, when I put it in, put it in the envelope and send it, people always comment on it because nobody ever does that anymore. And in this case, with a card, with a tool like this, he could do his note, put it on Speedy, put it in Speedy and send it out. And you could pretty easily imagine a version of that might have a gift card for either the product he's selling or Starbucks or something else.
I like that. Now, that said, because I feel like we're on a really innovative role here where we can start inventing things and creating new things. So I'm going to just keep us at that level here and ask you if there's anything that we didn't talk about today that you'd like to share with our audience to make sure that they have the fullest understanding of the service that you provide and how to really integrate themselves into the Zermil world.
Sure. I mean, with Zermil is the fastest and easiest way to do direct mail. And the Direct Marketing Association says that, on average, direct mail returns $13 for every dollar invested. Of course, that's going to depend on our audience and our products. But in general, we find that the customers that, that have a powerful offer and target the right audience are very successful using the mail. And then, so if you're going to do direct mail, then Zermil is definitely the right way to do it. And then we have this new desktop icon, Speedy, which is the fastest and easiest way to send a letter, even if you're sending one single letter. And if you download that today and install that application, we'll give you the first 2 letters free. So you can download it, try it, and postage costs money. So I think this is a great opportunity. So if you're going to try it out, this will be the time.
I was going to say, I know what I'm doing after this call. I got a couple letters to send. My goodness. No, I love that so much. Thank you so much for being on the show. I want to welcome everyone to tune in every single week. We have new conversations just like this. And don't forget to dive into the resources that we provide you right below in the show notes. You can dive in and just explore the world of marketing through new eyes, through innovative thought processes, and through a human-centered approach. With that, I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and we will chat soon. Bye now.